bit, what happens is vol increases, your credit spread increases. So we do anticipate it to be more, but we do see, because we don't anticipate a recession either this year or next year, that will snap back in once the markets calm down. It's not immediate, and when it doesn't snap back in, you're still earning a positive coupon, positive carry. That's why we're legging into it, so to speak. We're not going all in on credit, but we are starting to add, and we will continue to do so.
What distinguishes the difference between spreads widen, equities sell off, and the corporates having an impact, the corporates acting different and having to respond to that, besides ones that can just sit still through the damage?
But it's a great question. So there's two sides to the coin of corporate bonds. There's me, an investor, so I buy it, I invest. And then there's corporations who actually need to fund the company. So when you get these tremendous rallies that you've been talking about, not only in your 2-year, but your 10-year and your 30-year, this is the type of market where corporates like to fix in their financing costs for the next 5, 10, 30 years. And the reason why is they've seen how high yields have been, last year, the highs of last year, even like July 1st, I think 10-year bonds in the US were testing 450. Now we're testing 370. 80 basis points of lower carrying costs or lower financing costs for 10 years is significant for a corporation. So that's why they look at this side of the equation. And you know what? There will be a lot of dealers that are knocking the doors to highlight the benefits of this. And that's why they get involved.
Oh, just before you go, we're just trying to gauge from investors, people in the market like yourself, how vulnerable this market is to flipping the other way all over again off the back of a firm print on ISM services a little bit later this morning. How are you and the team framing that data point later on today?
Yeah, I don't think it's vulnerable to flipping back, but this is, I'm happy you asked that question. The level in 10 years that we see at the pivot point is 385. So any yield below 385, we are better sellers, with underweight duration. Above 385, we start going long duration. It is our full expectation that we'll test both ends of that. We'll go above 385, but the trend now is definitely lower, but we could see us going much higher as well before we ultimately hit new lows. And that underscores one thing. Our number one highest conviction trade for 2024 coming into the year was volatility. That means, and we're seeing it, and that means the path is more important than the destination. So having ideas as to where pivot points are, where you're underweight, overweight, is the key to making alpha. And that's why we're very bullish on alpha in fixed income and active management.
Oh, this was super smart. It's good to get your thoughts, sir. As always, good luck this week. Earl Davis there of BMO Global Asset Management after some big moves. He was long volatility. That's exactly what he's got on these screens right now. Let's give you an update on stories elsewhere this morning with your Bloomberg Brief. Here's Yahara Hackers. Hey, Yahara.
Hi, John. The Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, has resigned and fled the country as anti-government protesters converged on her official residence. This according to local reports. She had faced pressure to resign for weeks following violent demonstrations that have killed more than 100 protesters. The nation is shutting down government and private offices, including banks, for 3 days starting today, and mobile internet service has been shut off. The country will now form an interim government with the backing of the military. Meanwhile, Israel is bracing for possible attacks from Iran and regional militias. This after the high-profile assassinations of Hamas and Hezbollah leaders last week. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying over the weekend his country is in a, quote, multi-front war against Iran's axis of evil. Amid the escalating tensions, the U.S. is moving a fighter jet squadron to the region and plans to keep an aircraft carrier nearby to help Israel. Still, the White House is urging Netanyahu to redouble ceasefire negotiations with Hamas. And we're seeing shares of Apple tumbling down nearly 9% in the pre-market as part of this global tech sell-off. But we also learned over the weekend that Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway slashed its stake in the iPhone maker by almost 50%. This part of a second quarter selling spree that saw Warren Buffett's cash pile soar to a record nearly $277 billion. Still, analysts are urging Apple investors to remain calm despite a delay in the company's much-hyped AI rollout. That's your Bloomberg Brief. John?
Yahara, thank you. I guess the real question, Danny, is how much you'd like to buy this morning off the back of this move.
I was thinking, what great timing from Warren Buffett. I mean, I'm sure he didn't think this was going to happen, but good timing for him and maybe bad for everyone who bought what he was selling.
Amazing. Yahara is going to join us again in about 30 minutes' time. Up next on the programme, the long odds for a soft landing.
I'm hearing the market scream two things: growth scare, policy mistake. That is what I'm hearing.
It was screaming those two things loudly after that jobs report dropped on Friday. More still ahead. You're watching Bloomberg TV.